Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about, again, how to create engaging videos. And today's topic is all about the perfect structure for your videos. There's a few points I want to talk about. First of all, why use a structure in the first place. Then we're going to give you 3 great structures for boosting your engagement. And then we're going to talk about 3 big ideas that really trump everything else when it comes to structure and engagement. Stay tuned because I'll be sharing with you in detail how all of these things work to help you make your videos a lot more engaging. So it's all about engagement this week. Engagement. Why engagement? Well, because through engagement you can connect with your audience. And if you've been following me for the last few weeks, you'll know that I've been saying it's not about content so much anymore. Content is not king anymore. Connection is king. And how do you connect? You connect through creating engaging content, engaging videos. And today is all about helping you do that. In particular, looking at different kind of structures that you can use for creating really engaging videos. So the first thing I want to talk about here is why. Why use a structure for creating engaging videos? Well, there's 3 reasons that I can think of quickly, but there's probably more. But the first one is that obviously it helps you engage. You know, when you have a structure for your content, when your content is structured, people respond to that better. We love structure in terms of watching stuff or consuming content. We love structure because it gives us a sense of control, a sense of peace, or a sense of we know what to expect. That's one of the reasons why structure works so well. Another reason is because for you as the content creator, number 2 here, there's no need for a script. When you know and understand the right kind of structures for your content, you can just turn up and start speaking and just fill in the blanks, so to speak. So it makes it a lot easier to come up with engaging content without a script. And the thing is with scripts, you can often turn into some sort of a robot, and especially if you're not really good and well practiced at reading from a script. And it's a much more complicated setup. But if you just have the structure and you know what bits to talk about at just the right time, and it happens to be a very engaging sort of a structure by design, then it makes it a lot easier and a lot faster also to create engaging content. And the final reason here is number 3. You know, it's really like a formula. It's been tested and it just works. Now, there are some better formulas and structures than others. And we're going to share with you 3 today that I find incredibly useful for helping you engage your audience. So let's look at these 3 now. The 3 great structures for boosting your engagement for your video content. So the first one is one that I've mentioned quite a bit in the last few days, and it's my favorite. I don't always use it, but it's certainly my favorite because I think it is just so incredibly powerful. And it's from The Hero's Journey. So Joseph Campbell a while ago wrote a book called The Hero's Journey, and he analyzed mythical structures, the structures of myths, and he found this sort of common thread, this common structure in all these myths. All the great stories of all time seem to have a very similar structure. And so what he did was he wrote it all down in a book, called it The Hero's Journey, and published it, and this thing just took off. It was incredible. Later on, a gentleman called Christopher Vogler wrote a book called The Writer's Journey, for writing and script writing and screenwriting, and he distilled it down into quite an easy way to understand, especially for screenwriters in Hollywood. And it ended up looking something like this. So this is from The Writer's Journey, and with Christopher Vogler's book. And I actually linked to his book in the description area below this video. Yes, it is an affiliate link. I always use affiliate links for my books that I promote or that I talk about. Might as well, right? But below this video, you can click on that and get a copy of it if you wanted to. And it's a lot more detail that he goes into than what I'm going to go into today. But this is what it looks like. And there's basically 12, there's 3 different stages, but 12 different points around the hero's journey. And it kind of goes, it goes in this sort of direction. Oh, let me just get the pen here that I want. It goes in this kind of a direction, clockwise. So it all starts here. Let's do this in green. It starts here with the ordinary world, the hero inside the ordinary world. And before I get into the rest of this is, you will have seen this structure very commonly appear in Hollywood movies. So the writer's journey was written basically for Hollywood screenwriters. And so part of the drawback of knowing this structure is the next time you're going to watch a movie, you're going to be spotting this structure inside these movies. And it's kind of going to spoil it a little bit for you, but in a way, because you'll start analyzing the movie as you're watching it, which is kind of fun in a way, but also it can spoil it a bit. It can spoil the excitement. But anyway, this is so powerful. This is such a powerful structure because it relates so much to us as human beings and our own life journey and our own struggles and successes in life. It mimics that same sort of understanding, or it just seems like it's a mold that we're all born with, or that it just occurs naturally, and that's why it appeals so much to us. So when you create content following a similar sort of a strategy, a similar sort of a structure, you naturally invoke that natural formula or mold that is already inside of us, and we respond to that. We're kind of a little bit like sheep. We just respond to these things. We don't even know that it's happening to us. It's so powerful. Anyway, it all starts with the ordinary world, where the hero is, in their general world, and then all of a sudden they get this call to adventure. Something happens. There's some sort of inciting incident that changes everything, and it calls them to some sort of adventure or some sort of challenge. And all of a sudden, they've now got to make a decision. Do they want to go on this adventure? And oftentimes, it's followed by the refusal of the call. And they go, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not sure if I'm qualified for this thing, or I've got too many other things on. This is not for me. People, in the journey, the hero kind of freaks out and says, I'm not the right guy or girl. And then it moves on to the meeting with a mentor. And this is often someone who's influential in the hero's life. And they basically encourage them to do it. And they give them the confidence, the confidence and the knowledge or whatever they need to say, you can do this. You can do this. You can follow this adventure. And boom, then they finally jump into it, and they cross over to the other world, the world of adventure, crossing the threshold. And that's when they enter right into the adventure and get into it. As soon as they get into it, these things called test, allies, and enemies start taking place. So this is where they really start getting to know the playing field, and they start getting all sorts of tests or trials. And at the same time, they start figuring out who are their friends, and they start attracting friends and teams and people to help them on their journey. But also they discover who their enemies are. Okay? And then as part of this adventure, they then go on this approach, there's this big ordeal that they work towards here at number 8. But before that, they need to get ready for it first. They know there's going to be this big thing coming up, like Rocky. The Rocky movies are great for that. There's always starts off with the ordinary world, and then there's an adventure, like he gets challenged to a fight, and then he finally crosses into the adventure, and then he gets all these setbacks and trials and whatever. He builds his team, and he figures out all his enemies, and then he finally gets ready. He gets ready for the fight. That's the approach. He gets ready for the big ordeal. Okay, and that's in fact the next one, the ordeal, and this is the big fight, and this is where the big chase happens. Not the big chase, the big challenge for the hero. This is where the big fight is, and it's the real ultimate test for the hero. And then oftentimes they would succeed, whatever. And then there's some sort of a reward at the end of it, and then there's the road back, the journey, the road back to the ordinary world again, because the hero has now been transformed. And oftentimes, just on their journey back, the road back, there's this thing called resurrection, where the final sort of setback happens, and the hero has their final challenge that they have to overcome before they can head back to the ordinary world. And they call this the resurrection, where sometimes the hero dies, or it seems like they die, but then something happens for them to be resurrected. And this happens so often in Hollywood movies. It's just crazy when you start watching it. Anyway, that's the resurrection. So once the heroes overcome that, finally they can return to the ordinary world with the elixir, with their lessons of what they've learned, and they can share it again with the ordinary world and everyone else who they left behind in the ordinary world. So that's the hero's journey. Now, the question here is, do you include all these elements in one video? And do you also include them like, okay, so there's two ways of doing this. Let me just step back. So two ways of doing this. What you can do here, two approaches, is you don't actually have to use all of these elements. You don't even have to use them in a specific order. And this is what's so cool about it. Christopher talks about this in his book. So even if you just use some of them, some of the key ones, then you can still have a very compelling story. So that's one way of doing it. So maybe you start off with ordinary, oops, a daisy, let's use the pen instead. Maybe you start off with the ordinary world and maybe the call to adventure, but then you skip all the other stuff and just you cross straight into the threshold. Maybe you get straight into the approach, then the ordeal, and then basically the reward, but then maybe you skip over to the return of the elixir, this sort of thing. Or what you can do is you start here. You make this number one, you start here with the ordeal or a part of it, and then you flick back to there, to the beginning of the video, or the beginning of the story, or beginning of the journey. And some movies get quite confusing. They flick back to all sorts of parts in the hero's journey and and they only pull it together right at the end. And those can be incredibly engaging because it mumbles everything up and it creates this state of cognitive dissonance, which means that our brains, our thoughts and our actions and things are just out of sync, and we want to have it back in harmony. Our thoughts are just out of harmony and we want to get it back. That's what that sort of creates. But anyway, that's another big topic for another video. But that's what you could do. You could do it this way. The other way of doing this is to pick one at a time and say, in this video, I'm only going to cover the ordinary world, and then create another video that goes into the call to adventure, and then another one, the refusal of the call, this sort of thing. So that's one way of using this hero's journey for creating these videos. And just by using it, just by nature, the structure of the hero's journey is so incredibly engaging because we all want to be on a journey. We all want to be on a hero's journey. And I think that's one of the reasons why someone like Casey Neistat, who I've mentioned it quite a few times now, I should link to him in the description here. I haven't yet, but I will. I think that's why he's on such a massive road to success. He's just telling his story. He's taking you on his journey. And you can probably spot some of these elements in his videos. Sometimes all of those elements, or a lot of them, are just in one video, but you can also track it throughout his whole career. You'll be able to track the hero's journey throughout his whole career. So it is to me the most powerful structure that exists when it comes to telling stories and creating engaging content. And you can apply this to almost anything. You can apply this to educational videos. You can apply this to more storytelling videos. You can apply this to entertaining kind of videos, even music videos. You can take people on a journey, and it naturally engages people. Okay, I could probably talk about this for hours, but I do encourage you to get Christopher's book below this video in the description area. It is an incredible read, and it'll just open your mind to think very differently about how you can create your content inside your videos. Okay, next one. Next one here is a formula again. So all of these are really formulas. So this next one is called, number 2, the ZISEECTA formula. And each of those letters stands for something specific. So let's go through them right now. So this is one that I've often used more so in the past for my educational training kind of videos on YouTube. And it's a nice way for getting people in the right frame of mind and getting them engaged and getting them to watch right till the end, and also then having a call to action at the end so that you get people to take action on what they've learned. And it looks like this. It all starts here with the Z or the Z, which stands for, get the highlighter, Zygarnik. I'm not sure if I got the spelling right there, but there was this Russian female psychologist in the, I think, 1900s, early 1900s, who did some experiments, nice ones, on her students. She would one time only give half the lesson in the morning and then have a break in between and then suspend the lesson. And then she'd have the other part of the lesson in the afternoon. And what she found was that when she created that suspense, that suspension in between, in the middle of the lessons, her students would pay better attention. And basically what it came down to was creating open loops and cliffhangers and this sort of thing. When you create open loops, it engages people, because it creates cognitive dissonance, a disharmony in people's heads, and they want to close the loop. So when you open up a loop, that naturally engages people in your content. So oftentimes what I do is I'd ask a question, or I'd make some sort of a crazy statement at the beginning, and I'd open the loop. This is all about opening loops. Open loops right here at the beginning of your videos, and only close it. You close it later. Close later. Okay, inside your video. So that's the first part of the formula. The next part is once you've grabbed their attention and they're paying attention and they've got that open loop, they want to close it, you move on to building intrigue or interest. So with your content. So here you might start asking some questions. Have you ever, or do you ever struggle, or imagine this, the sort of thing that will create intrigue in people's minds, where they go, I want to learn more. A really good way of doing this is by starting off by telling a story. Maybe you can even have a mini version of a hero's journey, and you tell a story where you talk about the struggles and pains and frustrations that you've had or that someone else has had, and you've figured out a way to overcome it. Just by doing that and telling a story, you build intrigue and you build interest, and people want to watch naturally further. And throughout that story, you can also build in more open loops. Right? You can have as many open loops as you want. Not too many, though, I think. Not as many as you want. I think there's a balance. If you have too many, people get frustrated and they go away. It's too frustrating. So basically, that's what this part is about, intrigue. Next, you get into the meat of your content. This is where you, and oftentimes I would do this 3 times over. These 3 go together. And oftentimes I would do this 3 times. The first one is for state. You state the thing that you want to talk about, and then you explain what it is, and then you give an example. And if you've got 3 main points in your video, you can go through that little cycle 3 times. State, explain, and then give an example. Boom. So that just follows a really nice learning strategy for helping you create engaging educational content. State it so they know what it's about, then explain it a bit more, and then give an example. And just naturally, it closes the loops for people when you follow that sort of a structure. Then finally, there's the call to action. And quite oftentimes, whether it's educational, whether it's more of a promotional kind of video, you always want to have a call to action. Maybe the call to action is, once you've inspired people, is to get them to do something, to go and do something, to use the information you've given them to go and do something. Maybe it's just for them to subscribe to your channel. Maybe it's for them to just leave a comment. Maybe it's for them to subscribe to your newsletter, or maybe it's to buy your product. You got to have a call to action to close things off. And that's oftentimes how I would end the video. I might have something else here at the end. Often, sometimes it depends, like bloopers or something else, just to leave people on a nice high. So that's the second structure. Actually, a really good example of this, and if you want to dig into this particular structure more, is if you go on over to one of my sites called splashio.com. So I've got a free report there that you can download that explains this formula in a lot more detail. I think it's a 20 to 25 page long report. There you can download it. So it's about creating videos, but it goes into the structure. You'll see there's the Z factor, there's the intro, there's your content bits there, even in this little graphic. You can go and download that, and it explains it in detail for how that works. It talks about the Z factor, all these bits, and you can get that 100% free. I even have a little video that talks about it some more. So make sure you go and get that if you haven't got that yet. Splashio.com. All right, let's look at the third one. So the third one that I use, and this is more for promotional content, but you can use it for other non-promotional content as well if you wanted to. And this is called the AIDCA formula or structure. And let's go through this again in terms of the formula. So it all starts with attention. You start off by grabbing people's attention with some sort of bold statement or some sort of big question mark. Oftentimes I think about what is the main problem, need, frustration, want, or desire that my target audience is having at that moment. And I started off right at the beginning with that. So for example, if I want to create an advertisement, a video ad for Splashio, I would start with something like, are you also struggling with video editing? Or do you also hate how long it takes to edit your videos? It's really honing in on that pain point or that desire point right at the beginning of the video to grab their attention. Once you got people's attention, then you can start developing interest or intrigue, just like I said before, very similar in here for this previous formula. So once again here, this is where you can tell a bit of a story, where you talk more about that pain point or that desire point in context of people's lives or your own life or whatever. You build it out, you flesh it out a bit more, and you get people intrigued and interested. Okay, then you move on to building up desire, and this is often desire for your product or service that you're trying to promote, and this is where you talk about the benefits. You know, why should people why should they care? You know, what are the benefits, the emotional benefits for them if they were to join you, or if they were to download your cool new product or ebook or report or whatever it is, or if they were to buy a product? What are the main benefits? What is the unique selling proposition that you have? This is what you do at this stage, the desire point. Then conviction is all about building trust. And how can you build trust with your viewers to get them to take action? And you can do this with any kind of proof. Social proof, so in other words, a lot of people who agree with you, endorsements from other celebrities who love what you're doing and support what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. Case studies, so proof that what you're offering is actually working. All this sort of stuff can help build this conviction to get people to the next stage in the process, which is to get them to take action. So once again, it's very similar to this previous formula, but it's more targeted here. So the final thing is just to get people to take action. And in the context of a promotional video, you want them to take a specific action like clicking on a link or visiting a website or downloading an ebook or whatever it is. It's a very specific call to action. If you want to see more examples of that, we have stuff on vroll.com. Let me just show you guys that as well. We're actually just updating our site at the moment. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this Friday we'll have the new interface. But in here, I'm just trying to remember, there's a whole report that I have that goes through this formula as well. I might see if I can link to it in the description area below this video, because I think it's a very useful resource. I might do that. I don't have it there at the moment, but I'll do it once this video is on the replay. Okay, cool. So you can get that. Well, if you want to see more about VRoll and how all that stuff works, make sure you visit vroll.com as well. Okay, now I want to segue to the next thing. So just quickly to review, these are three structures. These are just three of many, by the way. So these are three that I use most commonly and that they've been battle tested. I've been using them for like over the last 10 years in some shape or form, and they just work really well. But there's more. So I encourage you to look for more structures as well that is engaging. You know, start becoming an analyst, start meta-analyzing every single video, every single movie, every single film that you watch, and look for the structure that they use and see how you can use that inside your videos. That's the best way of learning. Now, there's this last thing that I want to talk about, which is really bringing everything together here with today's video. And that's the three big ideas that trump everything else. So first of all here, let's make this read. The psychology of structure. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning, but like with the hero's journey and with these other two structures as well, they follow a very certain and very specific psychological path that prepares people in a certain way to engage them and to get them to take action and to inspire them. The hero's journey is particularly good for inspiration. And you know, how do you get people to change? How do you get people to take action? You don't hammer them over the head. You don't bash them. You inspire them. You inspire them with a story that is extremely inspiring, and I think that's huge, because we all learn through stories, and we all grow through stories, and this is how it works. So the psychology of it is incredibly powerful, especially when you use the right structures. The next big idea here is this thing with open loops and cliffhangers. There's nothing that works better in terms of getting your audience to stay engaged than open loops and creating cliffhangers. The cliffhangers are more the ones you leave at the end. Stay tuned for the next one where we'll reveal XYZ. But even in today's video, you would have seen me at the beginning, right at the beginning, tell you a bit more about what I'm going to talk about today. So I didn't go into it right away. I just gave you a bit of a teaser, so to speak. That was opening a loop to get you to keep on watching and get me to close the loops throughout the whole video. So it's incredibly powerful, these open loops. And then finally, there's this thing here called YFM station. So WIIFM station. And of course, if you've seen it before, you'll know what it means. It stands for What's in It for Me. What's in it for me? And all of us, all human beings, are tuned into YFM, WIIFM. We all first ask, whether consciously or subconsciously, when we get presented with something, what's in it for me? Why should I bother? Why should I watch this video? What's in it for me? What am I going to gain from this? And I know it kind of sounds a bit crazy, but we are programmed or created, or whichever way you want to think about it. That's just the way it is. That's how we are as human beings. We always have that intrinsic thing about what's in it for us. And when you can keep that in mind in your videos, and you can create your content from that point of view of giving and helping people and thinking about what's in it for them. So stop thinking about yourself for a moment. Think about what's in it for them. That creates a massive incentive for your audience to want to watch and consume your content. So I just wanted to share those 3 big ideas for you because I think that brings it together really, really well. So here's my call to action. Did you enjoy today's content? If you did, let me know in the comments area, either in a live chat or below this video. Make sure you subscribe. And I'm going to challenge you. I want to challenge you to use today's information. Go and get that book. Go and copy these formulas. You can copy formulas. Nothing wrong with copying formulas. Just make sure your content is unique. But go out there and start using these structures. I guarantee you it's going to be easier for you to create the content, and you'll notice that your content will automatically become a lot more engaging as a result as well. So that's your challenge. One more last little thing here. Tomorrow is the final video in this series about creating engaging videos. It's going to be Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date will be the 10th of March. So I invite you to come and join me again for that. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can get the updates, but put it in your calendar. And tomorrow's one is going to be all about editing hacks and this cool one here, the ultimate key for engagement. There's one thing that I've been leaving out on purpose this whole week that I want to share with you in the final video of this series. See what I just did there? I created an open loop, a cliffhanger. So you've got to come back. So there's open loop in your head now. What is this ultimate key for engagement, you ask? Well, I'll close that loop for you in my call tomorrow. Thank you. You've been an awesome crowd. I'm going to go over to the live Q&A now. So if you're not watching this live, remember, if you want to be part of the live stuff and the live Q&A, you've got to be watching these live. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you join in at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most business days. That's when I'm running these things. But if you can't join live, make sure you leave a comment. I do try and get back as soon as I can, especially during the first few days when the video gets uploaded to YouTube. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll jump onto the live Q&A now, and I'll talk to you real soon.